You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
And I believe Nick said, and they call him Air Canada. And I replied with, might as well start calling him Via Rail at this point.
Of the line of the night.
You were a bottle and a half of wine in, so you thought everything was hilarious.
Okay, that's still funny.
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the Two and Out CFL podcast.
Now they have to kick it out, and they do!
Every week, Travis Currah.
Does anybody still care about this podcast?
And Brazilian Ty.
Hunters are people, too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Are you kidding? This is unbelievable!
Ready, set, hunt!
Welcome to another episode of the Two and Out CFL podcast with Travis Currah and Brazilian Ty. We're a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. Yeah, we made it through the wedding, and we are actually recording on Sunday night, so I think we've made it a lot further than most expected, including me.
Yeah, you were the star of the supper, I think.
Well, I think the roast beef saved my life.
Oh, I was so happy when you started to eat. I'm like, he's got a chance to make it to midnight.
Dude, I haven't had wine for a while, but that stuff was going down like Kool-Aid.
Yeah, like you drank 2 bottles in an hour and a half. Yeah. It was like you were in a book club.
Oh, run the water, get the bubbles ready. Let's talk about the games.
Join Two and Out for CFL Fantasy and CFL Pick'em, and show Currah and Ty what you got.
They are who we thought they were!
Just click cflfantasy.tsn.ca
Enough of talking about it. There has to be consequences.
and pick'em.cfl.ca.
Okay, so let's go back. It feels like an eternity ago, but Thursday night, the Montreal Alouettes and the Edmonton Eskimos, the Esk smash the Owls, 44-23. We should mention there is some breaking news this evening as well, with the Alouettes making a deal with the Argonauts. They've acquired Ryan Bombin in a 5th-round pick in 2020 in exchange for TJ Heath. And a 3rd in 2020. So Bauman going to the Argos, Heath going to the Owls. So Heath and Tommy Campbell in the same defense, although they do lose Bombin there. Maybe they want to play Johnstone, starting him there. But the offensive line clearly is not working in Montreal, as judged by this game against Edmonton.
Not much is working in Montreal, to be honest.
Yeah, no kidding.
Vernon Adams, 15-28, not terrible. Only 217 yards with a pick, didn't throw a touchdown. Added 72 yards with a touchdown on the ground. Still scored 19.9. Second highest quarterback of the week.
Oh, wow. Yeah, by a lot, because the MOP put on a show in this game. Mm-hmm. And you look at the numbers for Adams, and they don't do his game justice at all. I thought, honestly, I don't know how Manziel's going to look when he goes in there. I feel like if he was in this game, though, on a day or two of practice, it would have done him no favors. If he wants to go back to the NFL, and I think that these coaches in the CFL are kind of doing him a favor. They're letting him learn the game. It was mentioned lots of times on the broadcast that he's basically had to learn 3 new offenses in a few months. Like, quarterbacks, when they get a new offense every year, it's not a good thing. So he's learning another offense. I'm going to assume he's going to start next week, and that is no fault of Vernon Adams in this one. He got sacked 6 times, but he had 8 carries for 72 yards and a rushing touchdown. He was moving around, but the Owls had 3 missed field goals. He almost hit Chris Harper. It was a diving catch. It would have been a great catch, but it went right in between his hands. So the Owls here put up 23 points. And that's basically the output from their last, 2 or 3 games combined. So they had an okay game. Adams had an okay game as well. He did not look terrible out there, and I feel like he actually could be an all-right quarterback in this league if he were given the ball and let him run with it for a little bit. He really hasn't had the fairest of opportunities. No,
he hasn't. He's kind of been stuck down the depth chart and basically everywhere he's been. Doesn't get a lot of opportunities. He's basically, they look at him like a short yardage guy. He proved Thursday night that he is a mobile quarterback. He can throw the football. He was only $5,000 and got basically 20 points.
Yeah.
So if you had the balls to put him in your lineup, like I did, you're not too upset with that.
It is amazing how mobile he is. He might be more mobile than Manziel, judging by how fast that kid is, bouncing around with defensive linemen flying everywhere. The old minicamp games you could play on Madden? Like, there's the pocket presence one, and when you put it on all Madden, the balls are just flying at you nonstop. That was Vernon Adams. He would have crushed that.
Yeah, it's impossible on the All-Star setting, or on the All Madden setting. But yeah. No, I get where you're coming from with that.
Now,
a quarterback. We didn't talk about Mike Riley yet.
I know, and we have to talk about him. I know, and we will get there right away.
Okay.
I know. We do have to talk about a quarterback that didn't see the field in this one. But we were basically promised that we were going to see him. Now, I didn't care. I thought it would have been stupid if they threw him in there. But fans there in Montreal were booing Vernon Adams as he's coming to the field. They were chanting Johnny. I felt bad for Vernon. He gets put into this crappy situation again. It's like things go bad to worse for Vernon Adams, but should they have thrown Manziel in there? I don't know what it would have done for him.
What do you accomplish with that other than pleasing a couple people in the stadium that want to see him for some unknown reason in a blowout of a football game? Like, why put him in a nothing game where he could get hurt? Your offensive line was doing nothing to protect Vernon Adams. What makes you think they would do anything to protect Johnny Manziel?
Yeah, I do think they were wrong to say he was going to be in the game.
And I think we knew that he wouldn't. There was no way he was going to start on 2 days worth of practice. I thought maybe a short yardage, a sneak or something like that, or a fake play involving short yardage. But I wasn't surprised I didn't get any playing time.
Now, yes, let's talk about the other quarterback. 24 of 32, 415 yards, 4 touchdowns. Oh, did I mention a rushing touchdown as well? Is this the greatest fantasy game in TSN CFL fantasy history?
I think if it's not, it's got to be close. Like that, 41.2 points. He had 3 receivers over 100 yards.
Wow.
Like, this is a game for the ages for Mike Riley. And there's people saying, "Oh yeah, I got tweets. Oh yeah, you say that he charges more than double or he costs more than double what the average is, but look what he does." I'm like, it's one game. He's not going to put up 40 points every week. So if you want to pay $4,000 more for 2 extra points from your quarterback on a normal week, you go right ahead.
There was a lot of fantasy output if you took the right guys in this one for really cheap. Like, we'll get to it, but Dembski and Stafford are still relatively cheap, and they put up big points because when you pick Riley, it affects the rest of your lineup. That's the thing. If you could just, put a check mark next to his name and there was no salary cap, of course, you probably would do really well if you picked him every week. But it's just tough when you're hoping and praying for value at the $2,500 range. But Duke Williams, you know what? Because it's so sad, the whole Johnny Manziel thing. And I hope it brings more attention to the CFL and the guys already in it. Like Duke Williams, this guy has 4 catches, 116 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Darrell Walker had 77 yards in this one. He caught Manziel's last pass at Texas A&M. Kenny Stafford had 105 yards. You know what? If I walked to, 8 people on the street, maybe one of them knows who Kenny Stafford is, but how many know of Johnny Manziel, So hopefully we can get these guys' names out there, and the league can start focusing on players like that.
Yeah, you need to start focusing on players that are, playing. I get it. It gets league attention, but I'm sick and tired of hearing about Johnny Manziel until he plays.
Mm-hmm.
Like Duke Williams, like you were saying, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns, 27.6 points, second straight week over 27, 5 in a row over 20 points. This is his 5th game in a row over 100 yards. He's averaging 119.5 in the last 5 games.
That's an Eskimo record. It's tied for the Eskimo record, too.
And all we heard about all game was Johnny Manziel.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I'm just sick and tired of it until he plays, and then we can talk about him. But until then, what's the point? You're just wasting your breath.
At what point does it become just another guy in the league, or does that ever happen?
I don't know if it does, because this year is going to be, it's his first year, there'll be the adjustment period, and so we're going to have to talk about that. Then next year, if he's having a good year, we're going to have to worry about him leaving. If he's not having a good year, then we're going to have to wonder if he's going to sign an extension or if he's going to be done with football. It's just going to snowball.
Apparently, he's been saying all the right things, like he's figuring, oh man, this CFL thing, I might have to be here for 4 or 5 years to figure this stuff out. And so he's saying the right things, but we'll see if he actually follows through with them, I guess.
Yeah, and like you're saying, time will tell what actually happens. It's just exhausting having to listen to it when nothing has happened.
The Owls' receiving core, no matter who's playing quarterback there, they're struggling. Ernest Jackson kind of just looks like he's given up. 7 targets, 2 catches. Some of them would have been, tough or nearly impossible to catch. But, man, Jackson's got to turn on those burners a little bit. But, you got your George Johnsons. Eugene Lewis had a nice one, 52 yards. But Tyrell Sutton, 5 targets, 4 catches, 82 yards. That is a player I think needs to be known more. This guy is all-star caliber, and I thought that the way that the Alouettes used him in this game, they kind of wasted it. I know they were down in the second half, but he had 2 carries. He had 7 carries for 39 yards in the game, but the second half, when they were still kind of in it, they weren't giving him the ball.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on in Montreal. Mike Sherman looks like a man who's defeated.
He kind of does.
Before the games even started. I don't think he realized what he was coming into. The O-line, with Sutton, it's really hard because that O-line wasn't good. Yeah. 39 yards, 7 carries, that's still over 5 yards a carry. Like, you can probably make that work. They didn't. We all kind of knew they were going to lose this football game anyways. But at 16.1 for Tyrell Sutton, he was their highest points for the night for the Montreal Alouettes, and that doesn't bode well for the rest of your team.
No, it really doesn't, because 16's not all that much, and he could have had the ball a lot more. One thing on those Alouettes, I don't think Sherman has figured out how to manage the clock.
That's embarrassing. End of the first
half, what happened?
I have no idea. I literally have no idea.
I think he thought the clock was going to keep running, because there's almost no point in using your timeout until the very last moment in a half when you just want to kick the field goal. Because until the play gets whistled in, until they spot the ball, they're not going to run the clock. It was just such a... And then they ended up getting sacked on it anyway and got nothing out of it. It was just terrible.
But yet not surprising.
I know. That sums up the year.
I'll put a toonie in the jar. I don't care. That was so bad. So bad.
They play Hamilton this week, and that's for second in the East. That's a home playoff game on the line for the Montreal Alouettes. I know it's, week 8, but...
that makes me sick.
As for the Eskimos, CJ Gable had 69 on the ground. He had an awesome receiving touchdown, 2 catches and 22 yards. But look at how many different players caught the ball for the Eskimos. They filled the chart, and I guess that's what happens when your quarterback throws for over 400 yards. So if you tuned in for the Johnny Football Show, you got the MOP show. I hope you were okay with that. We go to Friday Night Football in Winnipeg, and the Bombers worked the Toronto Argonauts. And, of course, they're making some moves now. The Argos have now said that McLeod Bethel-Thompson is going to start their next game at quarterback. They traded TJ Heath as well, but 40-14 the final score, and it was the Nick Dembski show on Friday night. Oh, if you put him in your lineup, you're a happy man. Let's just say that.
I had him in my lineup to start, and then I took him out.
Oh, the story of all our lives. 5 catches, 82 yards, a touchdown, 3 carries, 34 yards, and a touchdown. Andrew Harris didn't have to do anything, but you're upset. He's almost $11,000, and he had 10 carries for 28 yards. So you're not the happiest of camper. At least he had 5 catches for 50 to save his night a little bit there.
A little bit, 12.8, not terrible, but when you pay what you pay for Andrew Harris, you're expecting a little more than that.
I mean, I don't even know what to say about this game. Nichols looks like his Nichols self, 19 of 28, 253, 2 touchdowns and an interception. He sure looks a lot better than that loss in BC. He looks like his old self again almost.
Yeah, interceptions are going to happen. He takes care of the football. High percentage offense that they run in Winnipeg allows him to do that. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot, and we saw that again on Friday night.
As for Toronto, James Franklin, 20 of 31, 236, and 3 interceptions. It feels like we've been talking about this for half a decade now. How do the Bombers keep forcing these turnovers? I think we're already at over 20 on the year. They just keep doing it. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of a coach performing well in a contract year, but that kind of seems exactly like what Richie Hall's doing.
Yeah, must be nice to have that. I mean, the Riders did have Richie Hall, and he didn't do anything.
Yeah, the old bend don't break, and oh man, they're breaking offenses so far. At least Toronto.
Yeah, James Franklin. He's still young. I know we say it every week. He's still got lots of learning to do. 3 picks. This defense. We talk a lot about Calgary's defense, and granted, it is first in the league. Winnipeg's defense this week, though, put up 21 points in fantasy.
Wow,
21. And they weren't even the most expensive, I don't think.
No, Calgary was $6,300 or something.
So they were just below 6,000, I think, for Winnipeg. And yeah, 21. They put up more points fantasy wise than Andrew Harris.
Oh, yeah, you're not happy if you had that in your lineup, because that's a lot of cash.
They outscored their own quarterback.
Oh, that's hard to do.
Yeah. Not when it's Matt Nichols so much, but
yeah,
he manages
the Matt Nichols
to
swear jar.
Yeah.
For Toronto, the ultimate fantasy screw job. I don't know if you saw that play yet. So I took Martese Jackson. I figured he would get more work with James Wilder being banged up. Not really all that much going on. He had a catch for 8 yards, 2 carries for 36. Now, the 121-yard run, he was tackled at the goal line, and both Suter and CC thought it was a touchdown. The ball crossed the plane, And every play in the CFL is supposed to be reviewed if it could be a score. But the Argos, they went into a rush, a hurry-up offense, ran to the line, and snuck it into the end zone. So I guarantee you there's somebody out there that lost some cash on DraftKings because that touchdown didn't count.
Yeah, and they were supposed to be reviewing close plays at the goal line.
Yeah.
And I know, and like you said, they were in a hurry-up offense. That should still be relayed to the game official, and that clock should be stopped. The game, like that play goes under review. That being said, we don't know if it wasn't or it was.
Yeah.
But with the quickness of it, I would say they never got a good look at it. Yeah, like that just looks bad. You need to stop the game there and review that play. They scored anyway, but if you're gonna use replay the way it's intended to get the play right, get all of them right.
Yeah, I did have 116 points on the week, but man, it could have been just a teeny bit better if that touchdown counted for me. So, Martise, I'm pulling for you. They have to get him into that offense more because, man, he fast. He adds a really different dynamic to that team. I know Anthony Coombs is probably going to be coming back, and maybe that'll help Bethel Thompson or Franklin, whoever's going to be the quarterback, but they need more and more weapons. I've seen it floated out there. Why have they not called Bakari Grant? And heck, Chad Owens returning to Toronto because all they have is SJ Green right now, and
he's not doing much.
No, and he can't.
No, he's got no help.
You only got to cover one receiver. You can put two guys on them, and the rest of the guys aren't a threat at all.
Well, and let's just say this. With the show prep that we've done, I listed the top 3 point getters for Toronto, and S.J. Green is not in those 3.
Wow.
Their top receiver was Monty Edwards with 10 points.
That's not going to win you. It's not going to win you fantasy, but it's not going to win you football games either.
No, it's really tough when you got to have more than one weapon. And SJ is a possession guy, so is Armani Edwards. They have nobody to stretch the field, and we've talked about this. And it's really hard to just continually march on the field without being able to make a big play. Granted, they can make big plays, and they have. But that threat's not there. It makes it a little easier for the defense to keep the ball in front of them.
Before we talk about the 2 games on Saturday, got to say thank you to ATB Financial. Now, they got all kinds of resources to help people out. Ty, and I know a certain plant is becoming legal in October. I'm just saying, they got the Entrepreneur Center. So if you're looking at starting a business, they got locations in Calgary, Edmonton, Grand Prairie, and Lethbridge. They got pop-up entrepreneur centers in different communities for a month. So watch out for that. They'll help you with your business startup, whatever you want to do. Ty, if you could have a business, what would it be?
I would open up, I would actually resell Currah cookies outside of marijuana dispensaries.
You know what? And that is an entrepreneurial attitude.
And it's also illegal, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, I don't even know if I should air this one.
Hey, I buy Currah cookies by the case, not by the box, by the case. So, I always have some extra ones kicking around that I need to get rid of.
How many boxes in a case?
12.
Oh, so $60?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not so bad then.
No, I don't get a deal on them. I think I'm getting ripped off.
Yeah, where's the volume discount at 50? Mm-hmm. I think Brazilian Ty Sport Book would be has a ring to it.
Well, it could be like a sport book and spa kind of idea.
Sport book and spa. You did go for a pedicure last week.
It was amazing.
Look at this. So ATBEntrepreneursCenter.com, Brazilian Ty, log on and get your sport book and spa all set up, okay?
I'm assuming you'll be my first customer, but I am not touching your feet.
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you. So, this is absolutely incredible. The early game on Saturday, Ottawa beats Hamilton 21-15. There were no touchdowns scored until about 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Ottawa wins with 7 field goals. I think we've got a chance here for Lewis Ward to be Ottawa's MOP, MOC, and most outstanding special teams player, too.
Based just solely on this week, absolutely.
How do you go 7 for 7? You don't score a touchdown and you win by 6. Absolutely insane. And this kid's a rookie, and that win at Tim Hortons Field was insane. Liram Hajrullahu kicks there every week, and he couldn't nail field goals, and the kid just goes out there and nails 7 of them. It was a nice performance.
Well, we finally got our phones back after supper was done and speeches, and we're looking at the scores and we're talking, and you tell me the score. I'm like, oh, that's not good. I took Hamilton, and then I'm like, well, what? Ottawa probably had 3 touchdowns. And then you're like, Harris didn't get one. William Powell didn't get one. Brad Sinopley didn't get one. I'm like, wait, what? And you're like, Lewis Ward, 7 for 7. I'm like, get out of here. I had to go to the bar and grab a drink. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm out.
245 yards on field goals.
Oh, my goodness. I would need 200 kicks for that.
It's almost... Yeah, that's true.
You just did the math, didn't you?
I did. It's almost like, and I know we hammer on Mike Sherman, but I think Glanville and June Jones have been in tough the last few weeks. But that being said, the Hamilton defense didn't give up a touchdown, so it's pretty hard to crap on them. Their offense couldn't finish drives. They were moving the ball a lot, but I don't know what it is about the Tiger Cats this year. Their starting position, it seems like every drive is brutal. They move the ball quite a bit. Mazzoli had 352 yards. So he didn't have a terrible game, but the Tiger Cats go back to abandoning the run. There were only 8 carries to John White and 25 yards. But when your starting position is that bad, it's going to be hard to score points. Yeah,
that's what the numbers are deceiving, right? You have that bad of field position, or starting field position, I should say, all the time. You're gonna have to rack up yards to get anywhere, right? It's not like you can have the ball at the 40 and you just need to get 15 yards. You can pin them deep if you don't make it. You got to get out of the shadow of your own goalpost. You got a lot of work to do, and those sustained drives. Yeah, we talk about how hard it is on the defense. It's still pretty hard on that O line. The receivers running their routes and having to run back to the line and running routes. It tires both teams out. It's just we tend to focus a lot on the defense because they're the ones getting attacked, so to speak. But yeah, you're having 95-yard drives for touchdowns. That takes a lot out of you.
Jalen Saunders, 8 catches, 154 yards, and a touchdown, so it was a big night for Saunders. If you took him, Banks had 113 yards, and then after that, a pretty steep drop-off. So I think they might have missed Tasker and Tolliver. At least Tolliver brings some size to that receiving core, because Chris Williams is 155 pounds soaking wet himself, so at least Tolliver's got some height.
And we saw it the last 2 weeks against Saskatchewan that they had to put Duron Carter on him because it's like, well, if we put anybody else on him, he's going to win every jump ball. So he does. That's where he has the advantage over a lot of corners in this league, is that he's so much bigger. And the receiving core in Hamilton is relatively small. So. And Luke Tasker too. He's unreal. He goes to where guys are scared to go and makes plays. Having those 2 guys out was huge for that offense.
I know the Ottawa offense has a ton of talent, but they haven't been able to click for the last few weeks. Powell, Ellingson, Spencer, all these guys. I know they ran into Calgary, so that is tough. But Ellingson and Spencer, they have not had the seasons or games even we've come accustomed to from these 2 players.
No, Brad Sinopley has kind of taken that over.
Yeah, he has, and what a year he's having. I guess he's up tough against Lewis Ward for MOC.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite the Canadian showcase on Saturday afternoon.
It was.
It's too bad that we had to take wedding photos.
Hey, that was a good time.
From what I vaguely remember, yes. But no, yeah, Deontay Spencer, I said it last week, every time he doesn't seem to be as explosive in his return game as we've seen in the past. I don't know if it's the cover team coming down or if it's the guys in front of him a little bit. He just doesn't seem to be able to bust out big ones, big return here and there. And Greg Ellingson I don't know what it is. Just he's not himself, it seems like to me.
No, 34 yards. It's not a pretty game, but Sinopoli has 9 catches again. So that price is going to continue to raise. He's going to be the most expensive part of that Ottawa offense, and he's probably becoming worth it to try and fit in there.
Oh, for sure. The only problem is that his price is going to go up and up and up. You're going to take him, and then Spencer, Ellingson are going to have a 150-yard game and 30 points, and Sinopoli's going to have 2 catches and maybe a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. We go to the last game of the week in Regina. Calgary beats Saskatchewan 34-22, but it got off to a 24-0 lead in the first quarter. The Riders had an absolutely atrocious start. I think there were a couple fumbles in there. There were the field position that the Stampeders had. It was like playing half-court basketball for the Stamps in the first, and they started off with the big play to Mark and Michelle, and that set the tone. But after the first, it was more of a game. But when you're in basically a 3-score deficit with the 2-point conversions, that's a deep hole to get out of. Yeah,
when we turned it on, I'm going to admit, I turned the football game on my phone at the head table.
And it was 17-0.
During the dance with the parents. So you can call me a terrible best man, but I'd do it again in a heartbeat. We turned it on just in time to watch Eric Rogers score his touchdown. And I'm like, oh my, okay, I'm not wasting battery on this anymore.
Yep.
They say you can't win the game in the first quarter. And I'm like, okay, well, there is lots of football left. But, the way Saskatchewan's playing, I don't see how it's even a game. But you can lose a game in the first quarter. They didn't even score enough points. Saskatchewan didn't score enough points to even cover 24 points. So, but they won the last 3 quarters 22-10. They only gave up 10 points after giving up 24 in that first quarter. So, if you're looking for anything positive there, that is nice to see. Certain adjustments get made and players start making plays. And holding Calgary, they scored 34 points, but one bad quarter really inflates that 10 points in 3 quarters. That looks really good to me on a defensive side of the ball.
If you told me the over-under was 55.5, I would have taken the under, but it squeaks with 56 in this one. More points scored in this one than I definitely expected. But, yeah, when the special team scores for the Stampeders, the defense forces fumbles to get to the team in good field position, that team is going to take advantage every single time. That is what the Stampeders are good at. That is what they do. They do the little things right. Maybe when the thermometer drops a little bit, they get a bit rattled. I don't know exactly what it is in November, but in July and August, those things are always clicking on all cylinders for this well-coached team. I don't even know if you can say well-coached, perfectly coached team.
They win all 4 facets of the game, whether it be offense, defense, special teams, and mental.
Yeah, it's
really hard to beat them in any one of those. If you can, you have a shot. But it's so hard, and it's so rarely done in the regular season. They haven't had a lot of playoff success, but in the regular season, these guys are the closest thing we're going to see to an unbeatable team. Because they do everything right, like you said.
If you took any rider, you're not the happiest. They basically all got shut down, but they were able to move the ball compared to how the Rider offense looked 2-3 weeks ago. I thought they might have scored they would have been lucky to score a rouge in this one, but they put up 22. And the Stampeder defense, I know one was a pick six from Toby Antigua, which that guy, now that's a guy that can play just about every position. He's impressive.
Yes, very much so.
He flies all over the place. That's his second interception of the year. So the defense did score one there, but the Stamps were averaging, giving up 8.5 points a game up until this one. So I would say the Riders scoring 22 is, I guess, a success. The last three quarters were a success. If you could erase the first one, I know that's not how football works, then the game looks a lot different for the green and white. So
they didn't have an offensive touchdown.
No. Yeah.
Like, it's not the preferred way to play football. Brandon Bridge had 6.2. Like, we said it. You showed me this, or we saw the stat line after the first quarter before we turned the game off. And he had 5 passing yards in that first quarter. Mm-hmm. And I believe Nick said, and they call him Air Canada. And I replied with, might as well start calling him Via Rail at this point.
The line of the night.
You were a bottle and a half of wine in, so you thought everything was hilarious.
Okay, that's still funny. I mean, well, the craziest stat was it was 17-0 Stampeders, and the Stamps had 1 first down.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on in that game. I tried to watch it when I got home today, and I can't do this. Like, I know the outcome. I know the Riders end up scoring some points, but I know they don't score an offensive touchdown. So I watched the interception return. I know that, that Calgary only scored 10 points in the last 3 quarters. Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
I watched through it a little bit, and I was like, I'm missing nothing after that first quarter, it seemed, and after the interception return. So I watched what I needed to, because it was a hard game to watch.
It was nice to see Charleston Hughes get his hands on Bo. Mm-hmm. That guy's playing out of this world. He's having an amazing season.
Yeah, and everybody thought, or, we even said it too, that, maybe Calgary knows something we don't. In regards to maybe him being ready to see the decline in his career. I haven't seen it. So It's not making a whole lot of sense to me why he was let go, unless it was a money issue or something like that. But holy crap, this guy, like, it's ridiculous how good he is. He's got 8 sacks this year.
Wow. Yeah, he's one of the greats. There's no, arguing that one.
No, you're not going to get an argument from me. That's for sure. He has 8 quarterback sacks. Like I was saying, he's leading the league in quarterback sacks. Next closest is Boateng with 5.
Wow.
So, I mean, the Riders have a defensive end. Well, now their whole defensive line. It's what we have been saying for the last 2 years. They need to figure out this defensive line. Like, we don't want to waste Willie Jefferson. Guys like that. You bring in Zach Evans, you bring in Charleston Hughes, and all of a sudden that front 7 is just, it's scary good to watch.
Yeah, it is very, very vicious, and I know they lost Derek Moncrief in this one, but I thought, the defense still performed okay. This is the second week in a row, though. They give up a punt return for a touchdown. Terry Williams has the big one there. Hopefully that streak doesn't continue.
It would be nice to see that end, yes.
So if that continues to be a trend, maybe target a opposing returner against the Rough Riders in this one. But I think that about does it for that game. How was your fantasy week? How many points did you put up?
I put up just over 111.
Okay. I'm happy that I put over 100 without picking Mike Riley.
Yeah. I was second in our private league for the week, so I'll take that. And I am now second overall in our private league, so I will take that as well. 109.2.
Okay.
But I'm slowly climbing up the standings.
You're climbing. Yeah, because let's face it, I doubled my points from last week.
Yeah,
I had an embarrassing 2 weeks in a row. I had quarterbacks that scored less than 5.
That's on you, man.
Yeah, that is on me. It's just absolute embarrassment. So I'm glad that I'm kind of out of the gutter. I need some consistency here, kind of like the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And I know we'll have a better performance on Thursday morning, right, Brazilian Ty?
Yes.
I'm going to feel better tomorrow. We are a part of the Alberta Podcast Network. Man, there are podcasts for everything in the APN, albertapodcastnetwork.com. There is a Bollywood podcast. It's called Bollywood is for Lovers, so check that out. Have you ever watched like a Bollywood action movie? Because they are incredible.
No, I haven't. I don't watch a lot of movies. We've gone over this.
Yeah, you don't. I wouldn't. Wow. I would say some Bollywood action scenes are worth seeking out on YouTube because they... it's like a normal guy and he's Captain America on steroids. It's just absolutely incredible.
I feel like that's the start of a real dark wormhole on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
You get down the rabbit hole and it's hard to get back out.
All right, buddy. Hydrate, and I'll talk to you Thursday morning, all right?
Sounds good.
Rate, review, subscribe on iTunes. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.